can we please have writer-producer Eric Parker on stage, please? Can we have director-producer 19? And can we please have the one and only Nasir Jones on stage? Thank you. So this is an exciting time for cinema. I mean, this film opened the Tribeca Film Festival. I believe it's the first hip-hop documentary to open up a festival. It's also an important time for us in hip-hop culture and hip-hop cinema. We've had wonderful independent filmmakers like Byron Hurt with Beyond Beats and Rhymes. We've had V Bravo and Lloyd Alimbal with Estilo Hip Hop. We've had Eli Jacob Fantauzi with Inventos. So this is a long tradition of documentary filmmakers that have been around documenting our history and our culture. And so my first question to the filmmakers, do you feel as though as you're part of this tradition? Do you relate to these filmmakers?
I can answer that. From my perspective, I grew up in hip hop as a street artist, graffiti artist. Growing up in the sense that I lived it. You know, I was in the culture, immersed in it, not just the music, but the art. You know, the b-boy and the dance. I grew up watching the hip hop documentary Style Wars. That changed my life. I watched that probably about 30, 40 times over and over and over. I mean, we were living it. We were getting our hands dirty in it. But also I was learning from it. You know, I was learning how to maneuver. I was learning how to think, how to rebel, how to be an entrepreneur. You know, these are things that shaped my life.
Eric, you want to say anything about that?
No, as far as being part of the tradition of hip hop filmmakers, I think we both consider ourselves in that tradition, being that we're first time filmmakers, and you know, we didn't know where to start, just like hip hop had the spirit of beginning from what you had and using the resources that you got to make something that could tell a story for all of us and about all of us in some way. So yeah, I think we continue in that legacy.
Very nice. I know you talked about coming up with the idea with some buddies. You were just having a conversation. Can you give us some insight on the conversation and when you decided to pursue the film?
Well, in 2004, I was the music editor of Vibe magazine, and I was editing a story. I pitched it to my boss, the 10-year anniversary of Illmatic, which was my favorite album, but not only my favorite album, it was 19's favorite album. It was a favorite album of so many people that I knew because it spoke to us, but not just to us, but what Nas did with Illmatic was spoke for us. And I don't know if at that time, I don't know if you knew that as a teenager you were doing that, but that was the ultimate effect. But the article came out, and we just decided to get together and make something that could be bigger than just a print article. And the funny thing is, and maybe it's not so funny, but we thought we could finish it by the end of the year. So that was 10 years ago. So here we are.
So when did you decide to quit your jobs and focus on the film?
Well, you know, we never really had any money going into the film. We just did it. So we decided that we were going to do it guerrilla style, pick up cameras, borrow cameras, call friends. I mean, everybody wanted to work on this project. So we were very fortunate to send, you know, trailers out and get support from the community. In particular, Orlando Bagwell, head of the Just Films at the Ford Foundation, who directed Eyes on the Prize and became a mentor figure for us. He gave us a chance. He gave us a research grant. He gave us a production grant. He introduced us to Tribeca and the All Access program, and we felt now we have a community. We have a partnership with people who aren't just here for film, but they're here for culture. You know, they're here for messaging. So once we got enough support, and with the blessing of Nas, we quit everything and just made the film.
So you went through the Tribeca All Access program. What did you learn?
Well, the one thing about the All Access program, for people who don't know, it's really kind of like a boot camp in many ways, but it's also a way that you could share resources. So there are lots of workshops, so you can sit and workshop your story idea, your film. You meet different people who can help you get your film out there. So that's what the All Access program did for us, and they stayed constant in contact with us to help us develop the film over time.
Now, Nasir, you found out about the project. You saw a couple of film clips. Were you reluctant in the beginning to jump on board, or did you accept the invitation?
I was down. I didn't know how far they wanted to go with it. So I kind of was like, just watching, waiting, seeing what would happen. And, it took a little while as, time will go past and everybody's doing their own thing. And next thing you know, I thought you guys had stopped doing it, actually. So, So it's like, when I realized you guys are still doing it, I'm like, they're still doing the same thing, the same film? So it didn't go away. I was like, it didn't go away. So I was like, oh, okay, let's revisit it. Sat down and got down with them and did an interview, and then we were just talking about it. And then another 4 years passed, and they're still doing it. And I'm like, all right, now's the time. It's like, let's do it. We sat down and talked about it, and they showed me some more clips, and I went in with them.
Were there other filmmakers trying to hit you up?
No, I can't recall like who, but it was probably a few people who wanted to do some stuff. Again, it was like I'd have to see how serious they were about it, and if they were really onto it, or if it's just something they want to do. A lot of people would want to do stuff just to make the money, like, or just offer me money to do something on my album or my life, and I was never into that. This was about something that was real between these two guys, and I sensed that, I knew that, and I was in.
Were you happy with the results? Did you learn something about yourself?
Yeah. It's, I feel like, when I watched it back, it's a miracle. Like, I feel like each life in this room is a real miracle when you think about the ones who didn't make it here. So you have to make this time here mean something. It has to mean something, some purpose. And I was a young guy who was driven to be heard, and these guys heard me, and they loved the album, and here we are today because of that love that they have for the music and for that album. So yeah, watching the film blew me away.
Can I say something to add on to that real quick?
Sure.
Because a lot of people ask us, what's Nas's involvement in the film, and the one thing that was the most important thing was, Nas is a humble guy, as you guys probably can pick up on, and he watched what we were doing, and he said, hey, I just want you guys to make the best film you can make, to keep doing what you're doing. And he kind of stepped out of the way. And my background is in journalism, so when a subject allows you to tell their story, they have to have a lot of trust in you. They have to have a lot of faith to let you know, like, I'm gonna let you tell my story. Just do your best to get it right. So we always got to thank Nas for that. But that's part of the reason why we were able to be as honest as we were with our story, because he was as honest as he was in sharing it with us.
There was times that I was like, all right, let's do this, let's do that, tell this story, tell that story. You gotta let these guys know this. And then I just realized, man, you guys, I think, were just looking at me like taking the notes down. And I'm like, nah, this is not what you guys are doing. You guys are already doing what you're doing. Whatever you need from me, just let me know. I don't need to start getting hyped like it was a hype thing. It wasn't. It's a real thing. So I appreciate how you guys just really just had that focus and just laser sharp, just did what you had to do to make it happen.
Were you guys surprised that it opened Tribeca Film Festival?
It was, well, first off, we weren't even anticipating any of this. This was just an amazing journey. But we knew Tribeca stood for something. It stood for not just a film festival, it stood for films that also resonate with community. and culture. And for us, when we made this film, we knew that it couldn't just be a music documentary about Illmatic. That's the thread, but it relates so much more to the culture, to the community around him, to the people around Nas. You know, this was became a voice for those people. So Tribeca offered us an opportunity because they knew this just wasn't a film about hip hop. This wasn't just a story about a music documentary. This is an American story that relates to any part, any city. Queensbridge is Detroit. Queensbridge is Chicago. Queensbridge is the communities that represent. And those stories need to be told. So to get that platform was crazy. You know what I mean? Tribeca believed in us, and that's all we needed.
Yes. And that's why the film will come with a curriculum and a college course, and we're doing presentations in the hood, in museums, because we want people to see this as an art piece, because it is. This is an artist. But the message, the issues in the film are very important, and like 19 said, is something we experience around the United States. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for questions. Anyone? Questions? Okay, we have Mike. Can you please say who you are?
How you guys doing? It's Francisco from theexaminer.com. To the filmmakers, what was the most frustrating part of this process in creating the film?
I can, from our standpoint, I know 19 stands behind it. It's really difficult finding resources to create a film. You can't just make a film. We started out the film. One of the reasons why Nas probably thought we put it down was because we didn't have any money to keep shooting all the time. So, one of the most frustrating pieces of making any film is trying to find the resources that it takes to make it.
When you have a passion, though, to create something that's beyond you, there's no frustration. It's just, you just deal with it.
You'll find it.
You find there's no hours. It just becomes part of your dealing with every day, But it was going to get done one way or the other, that we knew, because it's something beyond all of us.